All right, we are live and recording, and we'll just give it a minute here for a couple of folks to join us. There's a lot to talk about, man. I want
Yes,
to
there
talk
is.
about I want to chat about the follow-up boss Zillow thing, the NAR thing. There's some stuff going on.
There's a lot going on. A lot going on.
The
Yep.
Redfin story was a big story, and that is now like number 8 on the big story list.
Man, we went from a whole not a whole lot to like, man, big stores all at the same time. So yeah,
It's as if
absolutely.
we're priming for some big industry event in Anaheim for the National Association of Realtors. It's
Oh,
odd.
that is gonna be an interesting one to listen in on. That is for sure. You're headed that way, right?
Yep, we will be there for sure. We're not exhibiting, but lots of conversations and good stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to talk
Yeah.
about the new products that we're rolling out for sure. So
Yeah.
that's good. All right. Hey, Katrina.
Hmm.
Um, you are monitoring the chat, so if anyone has questions, they can chat to you and you can respond there, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. And I guess we can get going here. So I'm Chris Dreyer, Revaluate CEO, and there is across from me, Wayne, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Wayne Salmans, coach with the Hero Nation Coaching Company.
So this is the first time that we've done this officially. We're planning to do this as an ongoing series, so pretty stoked to be doing this because one of the questions that we always get asked is, well, we've got this awesome Revaluate data, but we're not sure what to do with it. And I'm not a coach. I've never been a real estate agent. I've been in the real estate data space for 20 years. So I kind of get the industry and the space, but not the scripting and not the tactics to necessarily follow up with this stuff. And that's where Wayne really shines. Um, so we're going to get into all of that, but right now we are at a sort of bombshell moment in the real estate industry. Would you agree?
100%. Yes. I think it's going to be a major define. I think we're going to look back and go, that was kind of a lot changed from that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a catalyst for sure. Um, the the biggest story that affects everyone today and in the coming years is the lawsuit out of Kansas City, where NAR and Keller Williams, and well, there are a whole bunch of large defendants. Some of them have already settled. Were colluding. Were The jury found them to be colluding to set prices, and so buyer leads. As a result of that, buyer leads and buyer compensation is gonzo. It's just going to be kind of worthless, right, Wayne?
I think it's going to really change. I think the simplest way of looking at it is, I think buyer agents are going to have to get as good as listing agents in conveying their value. I think that's going to be a big shot. In the past, they haven't really had to be that great at it. It was like, hey, working with me is free, and you found one, and as long as you kind of like them, you were good to go. You weren't really taking into account, in some ways, the money that was being exchanged for that service. So I think that they're going to have to get, buyers agents have never had to really handle objections around commission and things like that. So I think buyers, we couldn't even get them to sign buyer agency agreements, what I mean, back in the day.
Wow.
So I think that's it's going to be a big challenge for the agents that have not had to convey their value to need to, if they want to get paid, they're going to step up and be able to convey that in a whole new way.
Yeah, pretty remarkable. Business models that have been solely focused on selling buyer leads like Zillow or Realtor.com are going to be having to pivot rather strongly because their value to the agent is going to be strongly reduced because no longer can you do that math to say, well, here's your 3% for your buy side.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to adjust their model. And I think the good news is people still want to work with a human. You know what I mean? Like that, nobody's been able
Oh
to
yeah.
bridge that gap yet, right? So I think that we're still needed. It's just going to be very, very different. And yeah, their value proposition is going to have to shift. They're going to have to do it in a different way, 1,000%.
The blog post that I'm working on right now talks about seller leads being the new black, right? So we're seller leads and seller lead gen have always been important, but now they are the foundation for building real estate businesses going forward. You can still be a buyer's agent, as Wayne is saying, and you can figure out a better way to overcome those objections, but that's different, and there's a lot of unknowns there too. Seller agents and seller leads are the hot commodity. And all of you sitting here today or watching this video are in a great position because you've signed on with Revaluate, and we identify sellers and listings that are going to transact in the future. This really puts you out in front of your competitors who are not going to see that change for weeks, months, years in the future, and that's why this crossroads that we're at right now, this moment in time, is so paramount, and it's so awesome to be here chatting with Wayne because we're going to be able to take these seller leads and this data and leverage it to drive your business to new heights in the future.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that this allows the agents to be in the driver's seat, which I think is the difference, right? You're able to control this. You look at some of the stuff that Zillow's done and some of the other ones where, their referral fees were 20%, then 30, then 40. It's like, when are they 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, right? And you have basically no control over that. And agents have not been able to tap into big data. And I think you're giving them the key to be able to do that, which is really phenomenal.
So Zillow goes out and as if they knew that this lawsuit was going to drop this way and that business model was gone. And coincidentally, they purchased Follow Up Boss for the price was released this morning, $500 million, which is a solid price, but they're a publicly traded company, Zillow is, and they need to show profit and growth and direction to their shareholders so their stock price can be up. And frankly, Follow Up Boss is a wonderful product, and so good on them for acquiring Follow Up Boss.
Absolutely, yeah, and I love Follow Boss. I mean, I hope they don't. And I love some of my friends at Zillow, but I hope they don't screw it up because Follow Boss has had such a phenomenal product and culture. You know what I mean? So like, I really, my hope is that continues to grow.
There'll be changes, right? There's going to be changes. What I do know is that the team is staying on board.
Yeah,
and they're incentivized to operate autonomously and hit objectives and growth and goals. So
yeah,
to me, that sounds like, yeah, there's going to be some changes and some tie-ins, but that's going to remain the same despite the new ownership.
yeah, yep, yep, agreed.
So, all right, so we're at this key intersection in time. What we want to offer you is kind of the golden key to unlock conversion and to drive deals forward. At the end of this conversation, Wayne's going to share with you sort of the script that is crushing it. We're going to go through some slides that Wayne has to talk about kind of leveraging this data in this market going forward. Yeah, Wayne, take it from here, man.
Yeah, man, I love it. Well, and I'm glad we're doing this because here's the thing, right? What I've, first off, if you're wondering why should I listen to this guy, I've been able to coach over 6,000 entrepreneurs and real estate agents in the last decade. And by doing that, you hear, what's working and what's not working. I think what Chris and I are both huge fans of is what actually works, not a bunch of theory. So there's a lot of theory being peddled out there, and what we're big fans of what actually you can take and work. So by the end of this, I want you to have stuff that you can actually go take, plug in, and use your business today, to be able to bring you, 3 to 4, 5, 6, 10, whatever size of your business it is, additional listings a month. Because right now, most of you, and my guess would be, you've all probably had this moment where you feel like you are drowning in the data, right? Like you feel like this. I found a picture of what I felt like back in the day, right? Like you felt like this, right? You're like, where? How do I cup the coffee? Where? Like, what do I do? And you have a lot of great intention, and yet you need the mechanism. So today I want to give you some of the mechanisms to get there, because the truth of the matter is, oh, there we go. Right, data. Having data is pointless if you don't know how to use the data, right? If you don't know how to convert that data. And Chris, what you guys are so great at is you took all this mountain of data and be able to make something we can use. But now that we have that, then we got to be able to convert it, right? So data is the gold of today. Yet if I don't know how to interpret it or what to do with it, it's pointless. And this is how most agents feel, right? Most of them, you may be like I was years ago, where you had this database of, mine wasn't even that huge at the time, but I know you guys see huge ones. I remember there was a moment years ago when I was selling real estate, and I had 6,000 people in my database. I remember sitting at my desk, looking at my database, and just being like, where would I even start? Right? Like I knew there were deals in there, but I was like, I can't call 6,000 people on a Thursday, right? Like I knew there was business in there and business was happening, but I had no idea how to even get my hands around it. So we just made calls, right? Which was probably the best strategy at that time, but it was so hard because you were literally going through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people to find somebody that was remotely interested, right?
Well, and you were not a
Yeah.
slouch either. You were a rock
No.
star agent too. What were some of your numbers for your
Yeah, I mean,
PQ?
that was when I was a 30 under 30, and I had a great team. We were doing hundreds of transactions. Like we were doing it. Yet I knew let me say it this way, we were working way harder than we needed to be because we didn't have the intelligence behind it to support us that
Yeah,
you now have. Right.
yeah.
So like you felt like a caveman, right? It's like just work really, really hard. Just hit the rock hard, enough times, and something's gonna come out. And now you have this beautiful tool that we can use. So when I look at it, like we said, dude, you've got people right now, they have intention, but they need the mechanism to really get them the result, right? So we that are on here as agents, etc. We have the intention, but you provide the mechanism, and if we can get some of this other conversion additions added, then we're going to get the result. So there's three things that I was struggling with back in the day, and three kind of false beliefs that we have. And the first false belief is what I call the forgotten, and that's where in your database, we have this hallucination that I did a great job and they're going to call me when they want to buy or sell. And the reality is like 86% or some crazy number, forget the name of their realtor, like 4 to 6 weeks later, whatever it is, right? Like they
Yeah.
are not going to remember you. And I remember it hit me years ago. I remember I was at a grocery store, and this gal came up, past client came up, and she was with her mom. She goes, "Oh, Wayne, how are you? Whatever it is." And she began to describe to me that her mother had just sold her house, had worked with, let's just be frank, a crappy agent that didn't know how to price it correctly, way underpriced it. And that was her mother's life savings. And I remember sitting there going, had I done a better job following up with this person, I would have been able to help her mother sell her house, and I would have been able to put more
Yeah.
money in her pocket. That was all the money she was going to collect, more or less, for the rest of her existence. And what I realized was I had to be way better at touching my database and getting connected with those 6,000 people. So one of the things that we'll give away to everybody at the end of this is, what's the plan? Right. So when we sit down with our clients, one of the things we do is we walk them through this planning worksheet, which we go through, like, what do you want to do? How are we going to rate your people? How do we want to take care of them? And then they walk away with this clear plan. If I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And one of the things we do is we'll help give you, here's the emails you should send. Here's the, and we'll talk about that more as we go through it. Here's what we should do in our conversations throughout the year, right? You've got to have a strategic plan, because what you find is most agents are not taking care of their people well. They think they're doing great. And I'll tell you what, the old days of sending 2 emails a month and getting business are over, right? Like we've got to do way more than we ever have. So this is part of it, right? Like they're going to forget if you don't have a strategic plan, right? So the second myth that I find most people struggle with is I love my clients and the people that are with us, right? Like they're great and they're high achievers, yet they have this misnomer that they can take care of everybody, right? They have this misnomer that, like, I can take care of everybody in my database. I know how to take care of cold leads. and they don't, right? What they do is they've either got to go out and hire somebody for $100,000 a year to babysit their database, right? Or they've got to, or they basically just miss a whole bunch of business, right? And I see it all the time, like just like this, the data you're able to pull out, you're able to show people, here's all the business you missed that was in the cold graveyard you didn't even know was there. Right. And what I love about Revaluate, especially, is I've been telling my clients for years that they were missing out on business. I just couldn't prove it to them. Right.
Right.
I was like, no, you're missing out. And they're like, yeah, kind of. And I was like, no, you are. They're like, yeah, probably. And I'm like, no, you like, but like they didn't actually know. So like now with Revaluate, it's like, here's the list, right? And that's when you see their like the blood kind of drain from their face for a minute. It's
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, this is a problem.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, it was the you would see the sign in your neighbor's yard, and that's how you knew that you messed up, right? Like
Yes. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
this is like that feeling times 50, and it's like,
Yes.
oh God, that's terrible. But
Yes.
it allows you to see that so that you can deconstruct it or reverse engineer what happened to
Yeah.
get you to that point, and so you can do better for the following year. Otherwise, you're sticking your head in the sand, and you don't care about anything, and it doesn't matter. It's just good. Whatever happens to you happens to you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I so agree, because what I would see is like so many of my clients would be frustrated with that. I can't believe they blah blah blah. And I'm like, did they even know you were in real estate? They're like, yeah, I met them at a party 7 years ago, and I think I said it was a realtor.
Yeah.
It's like, love you doesn't count, right? So here's where we begin to bridge the gap. So one of the what I see, and Alex and you have both talked about this, what I see one of the biggest challenges is, what people get the data, but then they don't know how to make the connection. Right. So they don't know how to go from cold to warm. Right. How do we bridge that gap? So one of the things that we've developed, and I'll share this entire, I'm not going to go slide by slide on this, but we'll share with everybody when we're done with this. Yet we've got to have a strategy to convert those that also is in alignment with, it's got to feel better for you and for them, right? We can't just call them on Tuesday and go like, hey, the internet told me you're having a baby, right? Like that's a little creepy, right? Even though Chris can predict that they're probably about to do that, right? Even though we know, right? Like that calls a little odd, right? It's like we like to know, like when our phone suggests that we buy something we've been looking for, we kind of like it, but we're also a little freaked out that it knows that, right? Imagine if that was a phone call. So we have warm up strategies for sellers and warm up strategies for buyers. So when you look at this, right, maybe it starts off with, you sending out some site, right, hey, here's the list of people that are interested. Maybe I'm going to send them a mail saying, hey, we're doing home evaluations. Watch for our email with the link. Then I'm going to send them the link, right? Unlock the true value of your home. Here's how you get your home evaluation. Then, maybe a day later, I'm going to send them a text message that says, hey, did you get the link in the email? Right. And then maybe a couple days later, I'm going to call and say, hey, we're offering this to everybody. Right. Blah, blah. But here's what is interesting about this. And one of the toughest things for agents right now is a multifaceted approach. Right. I want you to consider an email is worth 1 point. Right. That's not a whole lot of points. Right. But when we do these things together, most agents are scatter shooting, or they're just doing one thing. What you've got to have is a strategic plan that is multifaceted to warm these leads up, right? So maybe this is week 1, week 2 goes into, maybe I send an email that has a story of someone I'm helping right now. Maybe there's another direct mail piece that has a testimonial from a satisfied client, right? Then, right, I might send a text or send an offer, or call just to say, hey, did you get the CMA that I sent you? What did you think of the numbers? Whatever it is, right? Here's the key. I'm gonna, especially with the leads that are coming from Revaluate, I'm gonna pretend like I'm doing this for everybody, and really I'm doing this for the 30 people that raised their hand, right? Because like I said, like you look at this list, like I can't do this for 6,000 people. Yeah, I right, like exactly, right? Like that was my problem when I was sitting at the desk with all these ideas and going, but I can't do it for 6,000, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can do it for depending on the size of your database, you can do it for 10 or 20 or 50. You could do this for that group, right? This might be really daunting, but I could do this for 30 people, right? I could do this for 50, but what I can't do is wing it every time. I can't go, man, what should I text them every single time? I can't go, what should I send them the mail? Like that's exhausting. You don't have capacity. So we want to build an 8-week plan that you can do over and over and over and over, right? As these things, you're not reinventing the wheel. Chris, I can see the wheels turning.
Yeah, well, so the prior slide, you're talking about these old leads, and what that makes me think about is what we were talking about at the top of the call is,
Yeah.
Zillow Realtor.com leads that come in.
Yep.
Now
Yep.
you're talking about sending direct mail, and I think a lot of people that work with Revaluate have already had their database repaired. But
Mhm.
that is the key, because if you got a buyer lead from before, that doesn't have the physical address, and Revaluate can go back in
Yeah.
most of the time and fill in the blank to give you the physical address so that you can implement Wayne's plan there, which is multifaceted, sending a direct mail as part of that so that you can get in front of them. There's data to show that emails are open rates are dropping, and that direct mail has been abandoned by real estate agents, which they abandoned it because it didn't work and they were mass shooting it out there. But I believe there's probably an opportunity if you are targeting direct mail to the right people at the right time.
Yeah, and I remember and this happened to me months ago. I had a marketer, and he sent me a send out card that was basically like, hey, I'd love to work with you. I'm going to send you an email, but it was something in the mail, right? Right. And I don't get that much mail anymore, right? So it's like something,
Right.
and I'm like, this is interesting. Who is this guy, right? And then I get the email, and then a couple of days later, I got a video from him, right, giving me some advice on our website and stuff like that. And then another, right, but I tell you what, I wanted to work with him because I go, if this guy is doing this to get my attention, what can he help me do with my clients? And I think you have to realize that your consumers are thinking the same thing, right? Your hustle is actually going to be the validation that they need to know you're great at what you do, right? So you being consistent in this is less bothersome, is more proving that you're great at what you do, and that's going to stick out, right?
Love it.
And
Love
I
it.
do. I think you got to have an 8 week plan. I think so many agents have got. We've almost got accustomed to this one hit wonder, right? You called the lead once, and if they were ready to go, that was awesome. If they weren't, we more or less just moved on. Those days are over,
So
right? Like whether we like it or not, that's done.
there's, and we'll hit this at the end of the call also, but this time of year, people are not getting really excited to list their house, right? We're
Yeah,
working towards the spring right now. The work that we're putting
absolutely.
in now is for 6 months. Look, I'm in Colorado and we've already had 6 inches of snow at my house. So it's winter time, baby. And
Oh,
spring is a long ways away. So
yes, it
we got to
is.
put in the
Yes, it
groundwork
is.
now.
Yeah. No, I agree. What I'm telling my clients right now, especially, is what's your plan to get, depending on the size of their team, what's your plan to get 50? What's your plan to get 100, right? Ready to goes for January and February, because that's what we're after. So, and I think we've just, one of the things and the reasons why a lot of times people don't do well with this data is because they don't have an actual plan. They hit them maybe one time, maybe two times, and we know that it's going to take a minute, right? You got to start, we got to warm them up, and then we got to have the call to action, right? But the warm up and then the call to actions make, if you don't have a strategic plan for that, you're missing out, and somebody else is picking it up.
This is really key. This is so much a part. So many people that are not successful with Revaluate do what you said. Hey, uh, you're having a baby, or are you ready to sell? That's not going to work. That's not who these people are. That's not where their mind
No,
is, and that's not the time frame that they're in. If you want that type of lead, you need to put up a billboard and have people call you directly, because do you need to sell now? That's the number they call. Then that's that person. That's not
yeah,
this. This is what Wayne is talking about, is warming them up, introducing. You don't know 6,000 people in your town. You got to warm them up and introduce yourself to them, get on their radar. Then you can have that more in-depth let's have a coffee, let's chat.
yeah, yeah. And what we're realizing even is most of the successful teams that we've polled, we look at their data, right? They're hitting their database, right, like 100 times a year, something like 150 times a year, but from multiple ways, right? So it's not just this one email thing. So when you look at this, and what we're sharing with you today, if you watch this, is you need really three things, right? We need the initial plan to take care of your database in general, more dialed in and more multifaceted, right? It can't just be one or two things, right? So that's, you need that plan right now, right? That's just the general one. And now that you have actually all the data, right, from Chris, like all the pieces put together, you can actually do that, right? So
Yes.
now you got the pieces put together. So we need that plan. The second one you need is, how do I warm up buyers? How do I warm up sellers that have the high rating, right? They got the high rate. How do I warm them up, right? And you're going to create this endless lead of warm leads. We just need to get that ramp up, right? What the hardest part is getting it up, but once it's up, it's going to be a continual flow because we're always having more people coming to the end, right? So that's the second thing. The third thing we'll talk about in a minute, right? But as we go through this, and I'll send out this whole plan, right? That we'll go through. But a couple of key things that I just wanted to share, right? And this is an 8-week plan for sellers. One of the things that we do in this is, right now we're getting a little closer, right? Most sellers leave, $10,000 to $50,000 on the table because they don't know what to do, right? This is not a can I come list your house today kind of thing, right? This is a, hey, most people are leaving this much money on the table. Like we're continuing to warm them up, right? And for these people that have raised their hand, I'm not doing this for a whole database, but people that have raised a hand, I'm going to send out a 1-pager that says, hey, here's 3 of the 10 things that help you get the most on your home, right? If you want the complete list, right, click the QR code and get the whole thing. Ironically, this letter is, and I just want to add this in, Chris, it's just a plus. This letter is working so well right now. Now, most of my clients are sending this out to thousands of people. With Revaluate, you could send this to like the 50 that you need to send it to. It's the simplest letter ever, right? Would you be interested in selling your home to a client of mine? If so, give me a call. And it's so simple, it's actually working. One of the biggest teams that I coach is using this letter and getting multiple listings per week because the problem is they're having to send it to a ton of people, right? So if you don't want to waste 85% of your marketing dollar, right, you can pull the list from Chris, right, from Revaluate and send it to those people. But I swear this list is working. But it goes back to that multifaceted approach, right? Then let's look at the buyer side, right? So on the buyer side, right, like, is now the right time to sell, right? Here's a free book you can go download, right? I might send them a postcard, right, that says the buyer to selling, comparison. The cool thing about this, Chris, what I want people to realize is once we build this, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Once we build the 8-week plan for sellers and the 8-week plan for buyers, we don't have to reinvent it. And that's what's so exhausting is people are trying to reinvent it all the time, and there's no way to have it, flow if you're doing that. It's too much time and effort, right? Then the next couple of weeks could be a story of someone that went from renting to owning. Here's I'm going to send them another direct thing, a magnet with something on it. I might now send them a text. Hey, did you get this? I saw you downloaded this list. And then maybe a brief phone call, just saying hi. Now that you've built the credibility, now that you've built some of that affinity with them.
Okay, Wayne, so 2 quick questions on setting this up and effectiveness. So the amount of time to set this kind of 8-week program up for buyers and an 8-week program for sellers, with your guidance, with your help, how much time does that take for a team or an individual, or is it different for a team or an individual?
So I think it's different for everyone. There's 2 answers on that. The first thing is, I want to make it simple enough to execute. So the first, I would say there's usually 2 versions. So the first version is usually a 5 or 6 on a scale of 1 to 10. It's not the best version, but we get it up, we get it running, and then we can tweak it as we go. So like, I want to get it done quickly. So it may not be
phase
like
1 phased
10.
approach. Yeah.
Exactly. Phase 1 is like we got 8 weeks. It's not the greatest thing ever, but it's a billion times better than what we used to do or what anybody else is doing. So that's phase 1. We can usually get that pretty dialed in depending on what CRM they're using, and how much we want. And yet my favorite thing to do is R&D, right? R&D for me is rip off and duplicate, right? So it's like, we do not need to reinvent the wheel about all of this, right? Like here's 2 options, right, that work. Which one do you want? Cool. Let's put that one in, right? Here's a conversation, right? Here's 3 options. Which one do you want? Okay, that's your plan now, right? So within a couple of weeks, we can usually get this dialed in. I love the December period, because usually there's a week or 2 around December where I can just kind of hunker in and I'm not calling people, but I can do a couple of 4 or 5 hour bunker room.
The
time,
phone's not ringing, so
exactly. And I was like, here's the project. Okay, let's lock ourselves in a room for a couple hours to just get it done.
Love it.
Right. I think so. It doesn't have to take forever.
Okay, so then the other part of the question is scalability. So if I've got a database of 2,000 or 3,000, is it pretty much, I would assume it's pretty much the same amount of lift as it is for 20 or 30,000 contacts. It really doesn't change a whole lot in the amount of effort that it takes to go and do it.
Well, and one of the things we ask is like, could I do this for 100? Could I do this for 1,000? Right? Like those are some of the questions we're asking as we're going through that. So depending on how mail heavy it is, things that we may adjust that. But also there's things like send out cards and stuff like that where we can leverage and use some connection pieces to make that
Yeah.
really, really easy.
Yeah, those I was thinking about the letter that you just showed up there, and you had it in sort of an email format, it looked like. But I was thinking about those what's the robot that handwrites the cards for you,
Yes.
and so,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
yeah, that'd be pretty sweet. All
It,
right,
oh,
sorry, go
it'd be
ahead.
amazing. We now that we have the data, we connect those. But I think the other thing too is like the price has been an issue, right? Like, so to do that for 5, 10, 15,000 people, that's a big, big number, right? For
Yeah,
most of these, right? But like with your data, I can do that for the ones that raise their hand, and the ROI goes through the roof. So I think that's been one of the other biggest challenges. One of the challenges has been that I have to build this all on my own. The other challenge has been, who am I going to pay to do this, right? Which we're helping a lot with. And then the other one is just the cost. So being able to basically eliminate those is really, really powerful, right?
talking about efficiency, man. That's my language. I
Yeah,
love it.
it's beautiful, right? So then we get to the third dilemma. So the third dilemma is for teams that are bigger, right? And what we know is that chain's only as strong as the weakest link. So you may have some of these leads, but what am I doing to get my team to do the thing? So have I written out the follow-up plan for them, right? That they can adopt, which hopefully I have, because I've got my 8-week for buyer warm up, my 8-week for seller warm up, like we talked about. But then and I can help them see how much stuff has been missing. But then what do we need? We need a couple things for team members. And I want to share with you, because most of you have had this. If you run a big team, you've probably had the moment where you're paying a lot for leads, for leads from somewhere, or for data, whatever it is, but you can't get your team to do what they need to do, right? Like if you've been there, right, put something in the chat, because most of us have been there on one level. It's like, I'm paying this money, but I can't get my team to do what I need to do. So the third thing that we find is usually a missing piece is, how do I get my team to take action? So one of the things that we teach a lot of our clients is like, what's the weekly conversation they need to have with team members, right? Like, are we tracking it? Do we, what are the expectations? But then like, this is a weekly, or we can make a bi-weekly, monthly, however we want to do. But like, what's the weekly conversation I need to have with them? What's the standard? What's the scorecard to get my team members right, to actually take the action they need to take and get the results they need to get? So just I guess the simple way of saying is, like, just throwing data at our team members is not working.
No,
right? We've got to coach them into do what they need to do, and then we've got to have the accountability behind it to make sure it's going into place. Because it breaks my heart when and here's what I see a frustrated team leader because their agents aren't doing what they need to do, and I see frustrated agents because they feel like the leader isn't telling them or holding them or whatever it is to do the thing. So you get frustration on both sides,
yeah,
which just becomes a big lose-lose.
yeah, yeah, and it's an expense too, right? So there's frustration, and they're spending money
Yeah.
on Revaluate even, and like, oh, this agent is saying, oh, these leads are crap, and they don't have the correct dialogue, and they're treating it just like a Zillow speed to lead that's not going to convert.
100%. Yep. Yep. And I think you're like me. It breaks. I don't want anyone to ever buy a product or a course or whatever from me and not get results from it. Right.
Yeah.
And I've never had someone that's read my book and it didn't help them. I've had a whole lot of people that have bought my book and probably never read it and not gotten anything from it. Right. And it's kind of like this, right? Like, you've got to be able to do the thing to get the result.
I'm going to take the sound bite that you just said. I've never had anyone read my book, and I'm going to just put that on loop.
There you go. There you go. Mom will be so proud.
Out of context. It'll be great.
Amen.
It'll be so fun.
Yes. Yeah. So and would you say, and I know Alex would agree with this, but Chris, would you see that those are primarily like the three issues that a lot, there's other ones we can talk about, but those are, I see, the primary big ones. I don't have a plan to take care of my database consistently. I don't know how to convert cold to warm, right, with buyers and sellers, and then getting my team taking action and doing the stuff is the other big one.
Well, yeah, it's the having a plan and then teaching people how to execute the plan that is missing a lot of the time with our customers. I know that because they've told us we don't know what to do with this data. That's why they're here today joining us, and that's why you and I are having this conversation, because we're trying to, at Revaluate, we're trying to find a way to show people and share with people what is working. And the people that are successful are insanely successful with it. So how can we get that knowledge to other people that are our customers so they also can be very successful? Because we want rising tide for all of our customers.
Yeah, yep, absolutely, absolutely. So if it's okay with you, let me share real quick what we're doing to help people with it, and then I want to hear your the thing we talked about yesterday with expires and withdrawals, and then we'll give a script or two that are helping as well. And by the way, if you're on here, I'm going to send you all this stuff, right? We'll send you the links, the plans, everything else. But the team's only going to send that to people that are actually on here, because if you weren't on here, you don't know what to do with it anyway. So that'll come to you. So here's a couple things to consider, right? When you look at this, speed is money. So I want you to think about two things. Speed is money. So most of you, especially the clients we work with, they can do all of this on their own. It just takes them way too long typically, right? So you can do it on your own. It's just how long is it going to take you to implement, right? The 8-week plans, the everything else, and how much is that going to cost you? The second thing that I look at when I'm thinking about helping somebody with this stuff is trial and error is the hardest way to learn, right? Like trial and error is the hardest way to learn. If we're going to have enough of that as it is, but if I can avoid trial and error, right, I'll do that whenever I can. And so many people right now, what I find is they're fighting battles that other people have already won. So when we're working with our clients, our goal is to help them get where they want to go faster with fewer bruises. So it's like, you can totally do this, but by us working together, we can get there faster with fewer bruises. So there's really 3 ways to do it now, right? One is do it on your own, which is what most people attempt to do. The other one is pay somebody a lot to do it all for you, which can be really, really expensive and maybe not done the way you want. Or the third way is we do it with you. Right. So the we do it with you is I think is the most powerful. It's the highest ROI. It's the fastest way to do it that gives you the best results. So that's what we do, right? At Hero Nation with our coaching, we basically, what we've tackled with you is there's 3 ways that we can tackle this, right? So what we do is we do a 90 days of implementation, right? So you come in and we go, all right, where do we want to go? What do we want to get done? And we set some really clear goals around those 90 days, right? As far as the touch plans and everything else. And then on top of that, in that 90 days, right, you're going to get out, we'll give you all the scripts. We're going to give you the database blueprint, help you integrate that, and then teach you really how to train and coach your team all the way through it. So those are the big things we're going to do in that 90 days is be able to work with you one-on-one and get our team to help you implement those things. So instead of going and hiring an integrator for $150,000 a year, whatever it is, right? We want to be the integrator with you to make this data really come to life and get that consistent 5, 10, listings a month coming in from what we're able to put together. Chris, does that land with you?
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. So we connected at an event in Seattle recently. And that was a event that you were hosting that was pretty awesome. What was the title? And there was a bunch of 30 under 30s there.
Yeah. So we had our 30 under 30 event, and then we did our broker boardroom, right? And broker boardroom is where we bring in brokers from all over the country, right? So either they own a small brokerage, some of them own really, really big brokerages, some of them just own large teams. And that's the cool thing. Like we talk about R&D, Chris, you and I are able to have all these conversations with amazing people. Then how do we bring it back and help people implement what we've learned out there?
Yeah.
And that's a big part of this. So,
well, it was an impressive event in that the number of brains that were in that room that I was learning from in my role, sitting there and seeing the collaboration and sharing. And that event really caused me to want to do this, to get you guys, our customers and our prospects together to start sharing and collaborating and working together. And so, yeah, if you have questions or points or tips that you want to share right now, throw them in the chat. And in a few moments, Wayne and I are going to go through and discuss the things that you have to share and answer the questions that you have. But that spirit of collaboration was awesome, and that 30 under 30 group was powerful.
Yeah, and I think you and I are both on the same page. Like when we all do better, we all do better, and that's such a key piece of this. And I think the other thing too is like it's changing rapidly, right? Like the video you posted, a year ago is not, or right 2 weeks ago is not getting the traction. Right, we got to do it different. Right? It's changing so much.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times you and I, it's kind of like we act like the curator, right? It's like we're gonna go read the 50 books and tell you the one to actually read, right? We're gonna do all stuff and then tell you that here's the one text or here's the one video, here's the one email you should actually be sending. And that's a lot of what we do is the curation, right? We're out there
Yeah.
having 100 conversations so we can to avoid all this, right? Here's the one thing, the thing you can do. Yeah. So if you have questions, please drop them in there. You can go to like I put up there, pickwaynesbrain.com and set up a time for us to have a quick conversation. We'll see if we're a good fit
Yep.
on implementing the 90 days and get that there.
Yeah. So it was thinly veiled there, but just let me be clear. That was my endorsement of
Oh,
Wayne. Like I
yes.
really, he impressed the hell out of me. All these people that were in the room were really impressed with Wayne as well, and have been working with him for some time. And so yeah, I encourage you to reach out to Wayne and schedule time to chat with him to see if there's a fit.
Yeah, thank you, my friend. And I'm thrilled with what you're doing. I know it's making a big impact on our clients. So,
And I also believe in transparency. We're not paying each other to talk about this. This is just collaborating.
absolutely, yeah. I believe in what you're doing. You believe in what I'm doing, and we're both tired of people not getting the full result that we believe they deserve to get.
There you go. Okay, so I wanted to share this expireds idea. Is now the time to do that, or are we waiting a little bit?
Yes, no, I'd love to hear that. No, that'd be great.
Okay, guys. So I'm going to pull up our friend Brad Allen's account here, and as a visual aid, and we can kind of make fun of his of the status of his database right now. That's okay, but don't tell him I did that.
Yes, our the internet secret.
We're definitely not publishing this.
No.
Okay, so at this time of year, as you guys know, and this was shared to me by one of our customers. This was not my big aha moment, but I'm pretty excited about it. This time of year, Mike Simonson, Altos Research will tell you last week is the pinnacle of the most supply of inventory in the United States. And that is because at this time of year, every year, people start pulling their houses off the market, not because they sold, but because they don't want people going through their house during Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so they, as you guys know, they remove the listings or they expire. What we can do for you if we have report card turned on in your account is you have a list of all the active and all the off-market transactions that have happened in the last 12 months inside your database, that people that already know you. There is this top secret button right here that allows you to download that whole list today, which I would encourage you to go do. If you go download that today, and then 2 weeks from now, you give this to your assistant, your VA, and you take those two lists and you mash them up and you look for the ones that have expired or have gone off the market in that period of time that haven't sold, there's your marketing list. There's your expired hunting ground. These people are already in your database and they didn't sell with another agent, and you can go hunt for them. Did I explain that okay, Wayne? Is that sort of how?
So yeah, so what you, if I understand right, you can download this list, and then exactly like this is your entire list to start warming up right now. And I think like that's the key piece, right? This is not what most agents are going to do. Is if they have access to that data, which most of them don't, but even if they did have access to that data, what they're going to start do is pounding people January 1st, right? Like, hey, I know you're still hungover. Do you want to sell your house, right? Like which quite frankly, like I hate to admit, thank God we're burning this recording. Right. But that was me, right? Like years ago to sell real estate, because that was the best strategy we had, right? Right. It was like call people January 1st, hope that they, are conscious enough to be able to take a call and hopefully get their business. So what you're able to do is like in the next, 4 or 6 weeks, like everyone that's on that list, right? Grab that list, grab that data, and put them on the warm-up plan. And then you can actually have intelligent conversations with them at the beginning of January. And you have this whole beautiful list of people that like you said, with really high rates are going to put their home back on the market.
Yeah. And who knows what
it's
rates are going to be in the spring.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's a beautiful tactic that nobody else is able to take advantage of.
Yeah, I don't think this person was like, hey, this does that and I can do this, right? I was like, well, I don't see any reason why not. Like,
Yeah.
Do you mind if I share that with some people? And they said, sure. So here you go. That is a brand new, fresh off the interwebs solution that I think is pretty cool to leverage this data.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it goes back to our very first slide, like, everyone has the intention, right? Even if now you've heard that and you have the intention, now we need to get the mechanism in place so you have the result. So you have the data, you have the intention, now we need to put the mechanism in place, whatever those strategic touches are gonna be, so we actually get the result at the, at the end of the day. So, here's one last script I wanted to share with everybody, that I think is really powerful right now. Whether you're at because we're gonna go to a lot of parties right in the next little while, right? Events, parties, networking, things, all this kind of stuff. One of the things that I want to share with everybody to help get some referrals over this next little while is when you're at those parties, when you're at those networking points, everything else, what I see in a breach of my heart is somebody comes up to you, they go, "Hey, how are you? How's work or how's business, whatever it is." And the answers are horrendous. They're like, "Oh, it's good," or right, "No, market's weird," or whatever. Like they're terrible. What I want you to imagine in that moment is that the light from heaven is shining down upon you, and that is your moment, right? But you have like 20 seconds, 10 seconds, right? I don't want you to give them some weird diatribe on like interest rates, whatever. I want you to share with them a beautiful, simple story that will stick. So a beautiful, simple story is, right, man, this market has been so interesting. Yet I'm so grateful I was able to help a new couple actually get into the home right they were looking to get into, right? So they have the space they needed. And we got the buyer, we used one of our favorite strategies. They got the buyers to buy down the interest rate so their payment is affordable. Like I'm having such a blast helping those people do that. I want you to tell them a story, a simple story. Right? I'm so grateful I am blank. I'm so thrilled that we are a simple short story that you're going to implant in the back of their mind. And when they leave that party, they're going to remember, right? Oh, Dave helps people do blank. I want you to share a simple story in that moment and then release the dove back to the universe. But I tell you what, those are such big opportunities as well that most people are going to miss out on, right? The one addition to that is if someone says, "Oh, well, we are thinking about doing something next year," I'm going to challenge you to go one step further and go, "That's exactly perfect. That's exactly why. That's exactly why we should set up a time to jump on Zoom so I can walk through what I think is coming. That's exactly why I'm going to send you blank. That's exactly why we should talk next week for 20 minutes." Like, do not let that moment pass. Now is that right? Wonderfully, strategically, right? Set up the next touch with those people so you get that business.
I love it. It's sort of like a testimonial even too, because it's like these people trusted me to do that.
100%.
Yeah,
Hundred
that's
percent.
rich. That's a great tip, Wayne. That's a good one. Okay, so do we have questions to go through, Katrina? Where are we going to start from there? While we wait on that, I will say that we do have our next webinar with Wayne coming up on the 30th. Is that correct? I believe the 30th is our next webinar.
That's with Jeff Moore.
Oh, with Jeff Moore. Thank you, Katrina. Sorry.
Mhm.
One of our other awesome coaches.
Love it.
So he will be here. And while Wayne is more on the scripting and the conversation and the plan part, Jeff Moore is more going to be on the systems and the integrations and the tools side of things. So you'll see
Very cool.
those are sort of different worlds. They definitely overlap and
We need them all.
both leverage, both leverage Revaluate for sure. Cool. What else would you add?
That's it. I just want to put this up there. If you want to have a conversation with me about what it would look like, just go to pick.waysbrain.com and it'll set up a time where we can jump on a conversation. And I guarantee you'll get value and insight from that call no matter what. So we'll just see if we're a good fit and go from there.
Yeah, these are going to continue. We'll keep jumping on these together. I guess we're going to be on like a monthly cadence around this time of the month. And it'll be really interesting on the next conversation that you and I have here, Wayne, to see how things have evolved and what has changed in just this one short month's time. So with that,
and our conversations are definitely going to change. You know what I mean? And you look at even some of those touches, we have to update those throughout the year because the pain points are changing and everything else. So I'm just so you know, I'm really grateful for what you guys are doing because I think that what you're able to do is phenomenal. But then to have the heart to want to make sure that the agents that are using it are able to get the most out of it. I think it's beautiful. So I think there's a lot of, tech companies out there. They're like, here's the data figured out. And I love you guys taking it so much. Like they're already your clients, right? But you're taking it a step further to go like, how can we even better help you get the most out of it? So I just think that's my hat's off to you, because most people would not go to that level. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, we're trying to find that sane voice in this chaotic period that we all find ourselves in. So
yeah, amen.
Awesome. Hey, thank you all for joining us. This is a pleasure, and thanks for going through our first version of this with a couple of bumps, but rock and roll, and hope to see you on the next one. Good luck. Have a great day.
Thank y'all.